Welcome to Fruity Knitting. This is episode 96. I'm Andrew.
And I'm Andrea. And this is a really happy episode. We've just come back from covering the Swiss Yarn Festival and I've had a huge smile on my face the whole time I've been editing all the footage and putting the episode together. And partly that's due to the Swiss music that we've used, which I really hope you enjoy. But mainly it's just because of the wonderful people that we met there. They were just so friendly and charming. It was great. So the Swiss Yarn Festival is a 2-day event. It's held in Glattfelden, which is in the north of Switzerland, close to the German border. So we were able to drive down from Frankfurt and that took us about 5 hours.
Yep.
I have a bit of a sore throat today. So Merit Bootsberger and Asita Krebs are the two women who organise the festival, and we've included an interview with them. And it's interesting to hear how they've planned the festival, but it's also just great to meet them individually because they are both really highly skilled fibre artists in their own right.
Yeah, we're also including some vendor interviews, only 3 this time because we did want to go a little more in-depth with each vendor. They all have really interesting and varied businesses, so if you don't know them already, you'll really enjoy meeting them and hearing about their particular passions. And we did some quick Vox Pop interviews with festival visitors, and they are a lot of fun.
Yeah, it was really quite funny actually, because with these very short visitor Vox Pop interviews that you'll hear, I asked people right at the end to say something in their mother tongue. Now, I have absolutely no idea what they said. I can obviously speak and understand English, but the other language I can speak and understand is formal German. They weren't speaking formal German. I have no idea what they said. It could well be something like, as soon as this crazy lady lets us go, we're going straight to security to report her, because they were all really good sports. They didn't know who we were at all, and I don't think any of them even watched any podcasts, and they were very friendly with me, accosting them and getting them to stand in front of the camera and say a few words. So that was all great fun. If you feel free to write the translations of what they're saying in the comments below, if you can understand either Swiss German dialect or Swiss French or Japanese.
Yeah, I think we should offer a prize for the best translation.
Even though we won't understand, so you could make it up.
You can be creative here. It is worth pointing out that actually every guest on the show today is speaking either their second or even their third language, which is pretty impressive. Yeah. I find it really humbling to see just how multilingual some people are. And that is particularly the case in Switzerland because they have 4 different official languages.
Yeah.
We've divided our coverage of the Swiss Yarn Festival up into 2 segments. Coming up shortly, we've got some footage of the marketplace and also the area around the venue and the vendor interviews. And then later in the show, we do have the interview with the 2 founders, Merit Bootsberger and Asita Krebs. But right now we're going to jump into Bring and Brag because, as you may have noticed, I am wearing the beautiful cabled sweater that Andrea's been working on for the last few episodes.
Yeah, it's finally finished. I got it finished on the trip down to Switzerland, so I'm really pleased. So for any new viewers, I'll just give a very short summary of the modifications that I've done. So the yarn comes from superfine Saxon merino fleece, which comes from an Australian sheep farm just outside of Canberra, Millpost Merino, and we featured them in our Meet the Shepherdess segment back in episode 86 if you want to check them out. And the design or the pattern is an older Alice Darmore pattern called Irish Moss. And she originally wrote it for a drop shoulder, saddle shoulder construction. And if you just move that like way. That, yeah. And I've changed it to be a set-in sleeve saddle shoulder construction. So here's a little bit of footage because I want you to see Andrew at all the different angles. So the design is knitted bottom up and in pieces, and Andrew's really quite narrow around the hips, so I didn't want it to look baggy around his hips and waist. Therefore, I started with a stitch count of the small size and gradually increased to a little bit wider than the medium size stitch count across his chest. And you can see that here at the underarms in that side panel section. So you can see all of the increases that I've done. And the side panels are in a moss stitch or a seed stitch, and that just makes increasing and decreasing in pattern very easy. So then I calculated the shaping of the set-in sleeves on the body and the cap on the sleeve, and that's all worked out really well. I think it fits him really perfectly across the shoulders, and that looks great. So I'm really pleased. I'm actually really thrilled with it. I particularly love the way it fits Andrew around his shoulders. I think that's really good. But nevertheless, even though I'm thrilled with the modifications, when I look at him in it, I don't absolutely completely love him in it. And
That sounds terrible.
it does, doesn't it? And I wasn't sure why, and I lost a little bit of confidence because on the way home from the Swiss Yarn Festival, we stopped into Ulm. That's where our daughter's living because she's studying at the university there, and we had a really lovely evening, and she cooked us dinner, and then Andrew tried on his new jumper and to proudly show it off. And we lost confidence. Well, I lost confidence because then Madeline started giggling at him because she thought the colour just looked too feminine. And I was really hoping that she'd say to me, Mum, that's nonsense. He looks fantastic in it. But when she started giggling and did that, I lost a bit of confidence. And then she promptly tried the jumper on herself and thought it suited her much better. And then assured us that her criticism wasn't due to ulterior motives.
Of course not.
She did look really good in it.
She does. Of course she looks really good in it.
She looks good in everything.
Yeah.
But, but you love it, don't you?
Yes, I do.
You're very happy with it?
Completely. And
Good.
I don't take this this plot at all.
You do.
It's completely transparent.
Well, what's good for me is that I think at least if you get sick of it or you don't like it, Madeline's really hanging out for it. So it's like a good backup. So I'm really pleased with it.
Yep.
Okay, so moving on, Andrew is looking very peaceful there knitting, so we're not going to disturb him. We'll let him keep going.
Looking industrious, Styles is the word. This is not peaceful.
Yeah, because he has a deadline to finish this scarf by the next episode. So he's giving up sleep and eating to do that.
Yeah.
So you're probably wondering what my next garment is going to be. So I'm going to tell you all about my plans for my next garment. But first, you might see sitting on the table, there's another little project sitting there that I've finished. So that comes under Bring and Brag, but I'll tell you about him or her later on in the program. So first of all, I'll tell you about the plans for my next garment. So this is the design, and yes, it's another Marie Wallen design. It's from her book North Sea, and it's called Sky, and it's just a sweet little fitted jumper that sits really neatly in your waist, so it should look great with skirts as well as jeans. It's knitted bottom up in the round with an all-over twisted stitch pattern on the body and on the sleeves, and a simple colourwork pattern on the yoke and around the cuffs and the hem. So Marie has used the Rowan felted tweed for this design, and I think that's a fantastic yarn. I've knitted at least 3 garments in it, and it wears really well with no pilling, in case you want my recommendation. And it comes in some really fantastic, big range of tweedy colours, which is great. This jumper that I'm wearing here actually is another Marie Wallen design, and it's called Daffodil, and it comes from her book Springtime, and she used the Rowan felted tweed for this design as well, but I successfully substituted it for the Hampshire 4-ply from the Grey Sheep Company, which is a UK based company. So even though Rowan writes that the felted tweed is a DK weight, it actually knits up very easily to a fingering weight gauge. And so I was able to get the exact same gauge as Marie's recommended felted tweed gauge with the Hampshire 4-ply on this. And I didn't have to do any modifications. So since the Grey Sheep Company, were exhibiting at the Swiss Yarn Festival, I thought I'll try for their yarns again for this new design. So here we go. These are the colours that I've picked out, and you can see immediately that I've gone out of my comfort zone because
it's not green.
It's grey.
It's grey.
And I don't like grey. But this is actually their it's their undyed yarn before Emma hand dyes it. So it's just the natural undyed shade. So that's going to be for the main body here, but I think it's a warm light grey, so it sort of comes in. It's acceptable. And this colour here is a very pretty salmon pink. It's called Rosehip. So I've picked this one out to be the stranded colourwork on the yoke. So it's going to look something like that. Whoopsie. And a little bit around the hem and the cuffs. So there we go.
Yep.
So when I was in the booth, I had picked out a few different colourways that I couldn't really try from. She's got some fantastic green shades. It was just so hard to pull myself away from those green shades. And then one of our patrons came into the booth to say hi, and she very kindly influenced my decision to go for this one. So thank you very much.
Yep.
She's responsible. So in the end, what made me go for this one is that I wanted to have more of a fresh, summery, pretty version of the jumper, because we are coming into spring and summer. And I didn't want to go for too many sort of darker, heavier colours. So I think that should do the job well.
They are really beautiful. They're great tweedy colours, real mix.
And salmon pink is very pretty, isn't it?
Yep. Coming up now is the first taste of the Swiss Yarn Festival, so enjoy it, and we'll be right back after that.
Es gibt wohl kein Leben wie des früher so schön. Treibet und weilet auf luftiger Höhe. Zieht mit der Sonne am Morgen zur Welt und singet du jalet zum Und stößt ins Alphorn, so tönt's in der Luft und hallt durch die Berge von Klüfte zur Kluft. Fühlt sich so fröhlich in freier Natur, da hoch auf den Alpen lebt Freude im Nu.
Hi, my name is Elena. I'm from Stans in Switzerland. It's a small town in the center of Switzerland, and I have my own knitting shop, and I'm here at the festival for the first time. I'm interested to see what Swiss manufacturers and little indie companies are here and to show what they can offer me for my store and also privately because I'm a totally addicted knitter. And this is my husband, Walter. And Walter, did you enjoy coming here today with me?
Yeah, I like it because there are a lot of women, more than men, of course, and I like showing off the beautiful sweater you made for me last year.
Well, I didn't even make him say that. He'd said it all by himself. So, yes, we enjoyed coming here today and greetings from Switzerland. Es ist ein schönes Fest, kommt auch und getraut euch ein bisschen mehr zu lesen. Ist besser als selber kaufen.
Hello, I am Hello from Switzerland. I'm living in a little town, Sion, in the French part of Switzerland. And I'm here with my friends Sandra and Marie-Claude. And I love knitting a sweater and cables. And I'm here to find a lot of new projects.
I'm Marie-Claude. I have a yarn shop in Switzerland, in Sion, the Bar à Laine, and I'm here to propose some things new for my customer.
Hello. Alors moi c'est Sandra, je viens aussi du Valais comme elle et je suis ici pour passer une excellente journée avec mes amis, acheter, voir des couleurs, des nouveaux projets et à voir.
Hello, bye-bye. Au revoir.
Hello, my name is Cécile. I'm here from Lausanne. It's near Geneva Lake in Switzerland. It's the second time I'm in this festival. I'm very excited because this year I can go to the booth of By Night Dyes, who is a Belgian dyer who is dyeing in with natural colors and also coloring naturally, also natural dyeing. I'm very excited to see them for real and touch the yarn. And I'm here with my mother.
I'm the mother of Cecile, and my name is Yuriko. I'm so excited. It's the first time for me to come Yarn Festival in Switzerland. This is a very, very nice place and a lot of choice. And I'm looking for fantasy yarns. I love fantasy yarns, so I hope I can meet the beautiful ones, I'm sure. 日本の皆さんこんにちは。私は日本人ですけれども、but I'm also Japanese, so I speak in Japanese. So また来年も来たいと思います。素晴らしくて種類もたくさん豊富です。ぜひ皆さんもいらしてください。
I'm here with Koti Geronimus, who is the founder of the company Nomad Noos and the company Swiss Cool Wool. Nomad Noos yarns are really interesting. They are all hand spun and they use a variety of fibres including yak and camel and a native sheep breed which I hadn't heard about before. Now there is a really long and interesting story behind Nomad Noos yarn, so I think we do need to do a full feature interview in the future, but just for today can you give us a brief background of the company and show us some of the products?
With pleasure. So I'm working as a textile expert with a focus on sustainability in the textile industry, and through different projects this all came together. So I went to Mongolia working for the Swiss Agency for Development and Cooperation, where I worked with the nomads to help them to increase their livelihood and also to support them how to comb in a better way the yak and the camels, and also how to increase the quality of the fibers they were selling. What we're also able to do is to cut the middleman, because normally a lot of middlemen, a kind of agents, came to buy the fibers from the herders, which in fact didn't give them the real value, right? Because then it went over the border and the money went somewhere else. And these people, they really need to search for other kind of fibers, because due to the increase of the cashmere goat herds, there is a lot of desertification in Mongolia. So by be able to selling other kind of fibers like yak, camel and also the sartol fibers, that will help them to decrease the amount of cashmere goats.
Yeah. Okay, that's great. Okay, so and then once you've got the fibres, you sort them out and you send them over to Nepal. So tell us about the hand spinning that goes on there.
So yeah, the fibers, so we get them, we sort them out, they're washed and carded in Mongolia, also in a factory who is also a factory which is following sustainability principles. Then it's sent to Nepal, and that's because I was also working there in a project on empowering women and creating jobs for women, and I really saw that in Nepal there is such a high know-how of hand spinning. It's in their tradition. And that's why I decided to help marginalized women who are staying at home because there is no kindergarten or nothing for their children, to train them with a partner in Nepal and then get into a kind of home-based spinning. So for the moment it's home-based, but we're creating a workshop for them. So so we train them for 1 month. They get to start with cotton and then with wool, because cotton is much more difficult to spin than wool. And then they come to our small workshop when we have also our dyeing master, when they get the fiber and then they spin at home. So we have different, as I told you, we have different fibers. We have camel, yak, and the sartol fiber. So as you can see, so it's beautifully hand spin. It's 50 grams, which is 265 meters. They spin in a row, which is really incredible. It takes approximately 3 to 4 days to spin a kilo. And this is all a 2-ply yarn. As you can see, the yak is a little bit more fluffy, a little bit more hairy, but very soft. Yeah. And yak is very warm. It's 5 times warmer than merino. And then we also bring camel. And we bring this sartol, which you ask me what it is. So in fact, yes, sartol is a Mongolian sheep breed, which has a very soft undercoat. And they call it there like an undercoat with a cashmere touch. And it's very, very soft.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
It's really soft. All these animals, let's say, so yak and camel, the best fiber you get between 1 and 3 years. And that's where we comb them in Mongolia. To go back to Nepal, sorry, I'm like jumping from one place to the other, which so go back to Nepal. So it's spun. We spin the 1-ply, then we twist it, and then it's hand dyed. So we're working with, they call him the dyeing master. You know, he's very precise, and we work with sustainable dyeing colors. The dyeing colors are chemical, but they are following the sustainable principles. Also, they are certificated, and the dyeing water is going to a recycling plant, which they use for the sanitary and also their vegetable garden. And when I go there, I always eat with them, and I was never sick, so I can see there's no problem for that.
That sounds fantastic, and you've got some really beautiful colours here. But I know that you've also got another yarn that's locally produced, and it's being premiered here at the festival, and that's a Swiss yarn. So tell us a little bit about that.
I also wanted to do a local project because I'm traveling a lot, but here in Switzerland, I do sheep herding courses. I have 3 dogs, 2 border collies, and I tried to become a sheep driver in my private time, but I'm far away of it. So I felt in love with this Scottish sheep. Scottish sheep is a very small agile sheep, which is very close to the primitive sheep, and it has a fine yarn mixed with coarse yarn. So of course, this yarn is mainly used for outerwear products, and for example, Butzeria married, she made a beautiful beanie, and it's really soft, but you have some coarse hair. Okay, so the sheep comes in 3 colors, in white, caramel, and brown. But for the moment, we bring only brown on the market, and it is a 4-ply yarn with a little bit of silk to give a little bit of softness. It's Tusa silk, 1 ton and 1 in a gray beige color. And we also are experiencing a boucle, but that is just a little sneak peek. It's not yet on the market, so that's one thing. And since I don't want to spoil anything, so the funny thing is the label. When you're knitting, you can put it in the ground and flowers will come up. That's why we say knit and flower the world.
So there's seeds in here.
Yeah, there's seeds. There's seeds in the paper. So you will have beautiful flowers when you're knitting your project.
That's a fantastic idea. Well, it's been a lot of fun talking to you and just learning more about your fantastic products. So thank you so much for spending time with us.
Thank you for having me.
I'm here now with Nathalie Denis, who is a natural dyer from Belgium, and her company is By Night Creations. Natural dyeing is really fascinating. I'm often surprised at how vibrant the colours are, but also at the variety of really in-between tones. So tell us a bit about your background as a natural dyer and your dyeing process.
Well, dyeing yarn with plants came naturally to me as I've always been interested in colors, as I'm a graphic designer. And I'm a knitter, so I like yarn. And I'm interested in plants too. I love what they do to us. They feed us, they heal us. And when I found out I could dye yarn with plants, it seemed natural to dye yarn with plants. And I first tried with onion peels because that was easy. That was in my kitchen. And I just loved the result and found so much fun to do that I gathered more information and bought lots of books. And one of them was about the plants that grow in Eastern Northern Europe, in my surrounding. And I found out so many plants from my backyard can be used as dye material. So I thought, wow, that's amazing. So I had to try them all. There was nettle, ferns, oak tree, sunflowers. And so I tried them on. And that was so amazing because the colors were so in between. The yellows weren't just yellows, beige weren't just beige. You could get chocolate browns or rusty browns. And each bath would be a surprise and a new history. So I then tried exotic plants I would get dried from stores. And again, new surprise, new colors, new things to learn too, because dyeing with plants is learning every day. And I found out with time I'm not a scientific dyer. Or I just let things happen. I'm just impressed that things are happening. So I try to get the best out of each plant. And
every batch is different.
Yes, mostly. I have some recipes now with time, but I still love that just let things happen and let do the plant what they can do. And all I do to get different shades with the same plant is using only natural ingredients. So I love the fact that just a bit of vinegar of baking soda is gonna change the shades or modify the shades of the same plant. And what I also do is using different type of yarns. So I dye superwash yarn, non-superwash yarns, and I have yarns that have these street effects. This one is really white with a bit of gray in it. These ones are gray and brown, sorry. And they will affect the color, the final result I get using the same plant.
That's so interesting. That's really amazing. Okay, now you've got quite a lot of batches of different colours here. Can you tell us about the plants that are creating these colours?
Well, my first example is not a plant, but it's natural too. It's a cochineal. It's a bug, and it's been used for age. It's very powerful and very well known as a dye material, also in food coloring. And these 5 skeins are very good examples because they're all dyed with the same recipe, but I get a different color using a different type of yarn on each of them.
That's amazing. This one's quite heathery and muted, and that's much more vibrant.
Yeah, that's because this yarn is the grey one I just showed, and this one is very white to begin with, so it gives a different shade in the end. And with time I also learn exactly how much cochineal and how much vinegar to put in the bath to get that exact color, and just playing with the type of yarn to get different shades. And when I'm done dyeing the yarn, there's always a bit color left in the bath, and I don't want to waste that. So I put new yarn in my bath, and I get new colors. And these are some examples. So these are some examples of my second bath with cochineal. And these are lucky guesses. These are really, I really never know what I'm going to get as a result, and I love it.
Okay, so the first bath you can be quite exact with, and the second bath, it just depends, and that's the lucky dip.
Exactly, yes. It's just, it's a surprise each time I dye.
And this one looks slightly variegated, and that's just because of the natural grey underneath, isn't it?
It's also because I mixed steer a little less, so the color will stain when it gets warmer, and the yarn in the bottom of the pot will get the color faster than the one on the top because it's warmer. And natural dyeing is really codependent with the temperature, and the warming process is also very important. I have other example with another plant to tell you.
Okay, let's have a look.
So these were all dyed with madder root, and they're all the same yarn base. They're all my Blueface Leicester Gotland base, but they're all dyed following another recipe, just playing with heat, not
with heat.
Heat. So this would be my regular way of dyeing, putting the yarn and madder. I also put the madder root in the bath as with the yarn. I don't pre-cook it because the madder root will release its color at a certain warmth. So suddenly the color gets there. So that would be my regular color I get with the amount of madder root I usually put in my pot. For this one, it's the same amount of madder root, but I put the yarn a little later than the madder in the pot. So it's already warm, and the color will release later on the yarn. And I get another color because of that effect from warmth.
And what about these lighter two?
These lighter two are also the second bath, as I did with the cochineal. This will be the regular one, just putting the yarn in the bath, and I'll get that color, or maybe more orange, or a little lighter.
It's the lucky dip again.
Lucky dip. But with this one, what I played with the warming process again, and when the bath was at the right temperature, so that the madder root will release its color, I add a few spoonsful to my bath and stir very hard, so it gets the most even I can, and then I get that deeper orange color on the same yarn.
This is amazing, because you say you're not a scientific dyer, but really you know a lot of science and a lot of method. So what about these lovely yellowy greeny colours?
So this one are all dyed with the same plant. It's buckthorn. It's a small tree that grows in France and Spain. But for this one, I cheat. Because I don't use the plant itself. I use a dried extract to dye with. The thing with plant, it takes a lot of time. You have to soak the plant first, then wait, then cook it, then filter it. And with buckthorn, I don't get the result I want using the plant itself. So I tried with extract, and I got this amazing yellow.
That's so vibrant.
People are often surprised it's dyed with plants because it's fluorescent. They wouldn't expect that from a plant. But these two are still dyed with the same amount of buckthorn, but I just played with the amount of vinegar I add to the bath to get a different yellow from the same plant and from the same recipe.
I'm even more fascinated with natural dyeing now that I've spoken to you. You know so much, and I suppose you've just done a lot of reading and a lot of experimenting. How long have you been doing this for?
I've been dyeing yarn for about 6 years, and for the past 4 years, almost every day, except when I'm on a fair. But I'm dyeing yarn all the time, and I just like trying, and that's how I'm learning. And that's how I discover new things, and I just have my book. I write all my own recipes, and sometimes I get something real nice, and I try to do it again and never get the same result. I have no idea why, but it's okay with me too.
Okay, well, it's been fantastic to have you on Fruity Knitting. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
So this is the booth of Agnes Kultash, and she creates the most beautiful lace shawls. Now, Agnes, you're originally from Hungary, but you've been living in Switzerland for quite some time now. So tell us about yourself as a designer and what's important to you with your work.
So I'm Hungarian, but I've been living in Switzerland for 11 years. I have been a designer for 9 years. I have 107 designs and 60 of them are shawls, so I like to do shawls very much. I love experimenting with stitch patterns, and shawls are perfect for that because once you don't have any interruptions like armholes and stuff, because the stitch patterns can just flow. On the other hand, sometimes when I design a shawl, first I only know the construction and what the first stitch pattern is going to be, but I don't know what the border will look like. I just start to knit, and what I already have sort of inspires me how to go on. And you can do that with a shawl. It's difficult to do that with a garment.
Okay, and you do a lot of lace and cables, don't you?
Yeah, I love combining different types of stitches, so lace, cables, and texture. Maybe that's why my favorite yarn weight is fingering weight, because it's light enough for lace, but it's heavy enough to do some cables and texture in it. So it's the perfect combination.
So would you say that your patterns are mainly aimed at intermediate and advanced knitters?
Yes, but I think once you have learned the basics, then you can improve really fast. So you might be knitting your lace shawl sooner than expected.
That sounds good. Okay, so I think Agnes is going to show us a selection of her designs and just talk us through the construction and the inspiration.
So the first shawl is Hopes and Dreams. It was inspired by a yarn made by one of my Ravelry group moderators. She just started her dyeing business. This is a fingering weight single merino yarn. So it's perfect for lace and cables because it's light enough for lace, but it's heavy enough for cables and texture. So this is a crescent shawl. It starts here. And with this design, I had the idea that I have one pattern repeat here, one pattern repeat here, and I wanted to do the increases in a way that they come in between these two pattern repeats, and then they form a third one. So this is the way this shawl is increased. Then, when I got to the border, I didn't know yet what to do with the border, so I only designed a couple of rows at once. Then I knitted it and took a look at it. How does it look? And it always inspired me how to go on with it. So this shawl is called Wherever It Takes Me. It's an Aran weight shawl, which is a very thick weight for me because I usually knit fingering weight. But in Aran weight, the cables just pop. So I really loved working with it. When you knit a shawl, you usually knit in just one direction. With this design, I try to play with the direction of knitting. So first, I knitted this cable spine. Then the stitches are picked up from here, and then the first wing is knitted. Then the same on the other side. And then the stitches are picked up here, and then the border is done. So when I was here, I didn't know what to do with the border yet, but this cable looks sort of unfinished to me, so I decided to go on with the cables. And then when I thought that's okay, then I finished this cable here. And then I put some ribbing in between with some increases so that it fans out a bit. And this sweater is called Dijon. It was one of my first ones, but I still love it. It's a top-down sweater, so you can try it on when you are knitting. And I kind of liked to combine lace and cables here too, because this is lacy, but there are some cables in the ribbing. this gradient was custom dyed for us based on this picture. We sent this picture to the dyer, and she was inspired by it to do this yarn. So with this shawl, it was really important to me to use up all the yarn because if you have a beautiful gradient, you really want to get to the last color. So normally a pattern tells you to knit chart A, say 5 times. But here I tell you to knit chart A until you have used up 55 to 60% of your yarn, and this will make sure that you get to the end of your skein. This lace pattern is kind of simple because I was on holiday when I designed this shawl. One more thing that is interesting is that in the PDF we have a magic stitch count table because I tell you to knit to 55 to 60%. That means that everybody will have different stitch counts when they reach this point. So we put in a table in the PDF where you have to enter the stitch count that you finished this chart with, and then the numbers magically appear. So my husband helped me with it. It was some minimal coding, and I was so proud that we could do that. So thank you so much.
That is just such happy music. I love it. So ever since we've come back from the Swiss Yarn Festival, I have gone right down the rabbit hole on yodeling.
That's not down the rabbit hole, dolls. She's gone to the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
Been yodeling from the heights.
So some of our longer term viewers will have heard me speak before that I am a classically trained singer, and that's what I was working as before doing this full time. So I'm no stranger to the epiglottal flip between chest voice and head voice. And I used to do quite a few exercises that sound like yodeling when I was training my voice. But I've never done that fast tongue beating that's quite typical of traditional Swiss yodeling. Yep. And it's just fascinating to me because it's such a real deeply human emotional sound, I think, and you can't listen to it without getting a huge smile on your face or it affecting you strongly one way or the other. Yep. And it's quite amazing to know that kind of vocal technique pops up in so many different traditional cultural music, from Middle Eastern music to Finnish folk music to cowboy music. It's quite amazing. So poor Andrew, he's been really patient because for the last couple of days I've just had hours and hours of different types of yodeling music playing on in the house.
It's on constant rotation.
Because I just can't get enough of it. Unfortunately, we live too far north in Germany for me to find a really good local yodeling teacher, but I have looked around and I found this Swiss classically trained singer who's written what looks to be a really good textbook on the subject. It's the Theory and Practice of the Art of Yodeling. What I particularly...
We can put a link to it in the show notes if you're also interested.
I'll be quick on this subject, I promise. So what I am particularly interested in is this lady is classically trained herself, so she really knows how to look after the voice, and she's been through the Institute of Performing Arts in Zurich, and she now lectures there singing, and also one of her topics is yodeling. So that's interesting. So I've ordered her book, The Theory and Practice of Yodeling. It's going to be one of my 50th 50th birthday presents. I'm turning 50 in April. Yeah. So that can be one of the presents you give me.
So this is one definite good thing that I've got that challenge out of the way.
Yeah,
birthday present.
I just write a list and give it to you, don't I? Yep. So I'm looking forward to when that comes. But let me tell you a little bit about the music you've just heard. So it is by a Swiss folk group which consists of all family members. So the daughter is the lead singer, her mother does all the harmonies, and the father is on the accordion, and it's her brothers that are on the guitar and bass. And they just seem to be such a charming family. If you want to look them up, they're called Ursches die Dritten. So Ursch is their family name, and die Dritten is German for the third. And it's because it's the third generation in their family who are professionally forming Swiss folk music together. So that's pretty cool. And that scenery is just perfect Sound of Music scenery, which is so lovely.
We hope you enjoyed that coverage of the festival. The interview with the two founders is coming up later in the show. As you saw in that footage, the area around the festival venue is really beautiful with the river going by and there's hills in the background. And the old mill itself is really light and open, and it has these few really beautiful architectural features there, which is great. I was really impressed with all of the vendors we spoke to, all very knowledgeable and dedicated and really lovely people.
Yeah.
Both By Night Creations and Agnes Kutash are offering Fruity Knitting patrons discounts. Natalie, the natural dyer behind By Night Creations, is offering a 10% discount on her yarn. Natalie's based in Belgium, and as she says, she dyes with plants, bugs, and a lot of love. We were really impressed by the variety of colours she achieves, all very beautiful. Agnes Kutash is offering a 25% discount off all of her self-published patterns in her Ravelry store. As Agnes says, she particularly enjoys designing shawls, but we both think her garments are really stylish as well. So big thank you to both Natalie and Agnes.
So we'd like to ask our viewers to please support the show by becoming a patron. The show's only possible through patron support. It's Andrew and I's full-time job, and we don't receive financial support from any other revenue. Still, only a very small percentage of our regular viewers have actually taken the effort to do that step and become a patron. Although we get a ton of comments saying that it has really the program's really changed people's knitting. We've got 95 episodes out there, which we think is a real treasure trove of information with fantastic guests. And there's a lot to learn there. And people are constantly telling us how much they're binge watching all of the episodes. Please do take that step to make a small contribution each month for the show to continue. We're only talking around $5 a month, which really is very manageable for most people. And thank you to all of the viewers who have taken that step. We really appreciate you. So we're going to go back to Bring and Brag, because I've got this gorgeous little crochet project I want to show you. This is a cute little flamingo here.
It's a Swiss flamingo.
Yeah. So we have a year-long crochet along going on in our Ravelry thread, and I haven't spoken about it for quite some time. There's some wonderful projects there. I haven't forgotten about you all, so we will come back to crochet in a future episode. And I do have my Bohemian Blooms blanket by Janie Crow, which I haven't worked on for a little bit. So, but this is just a little project that I did on the way back, or I did most of it on the way back from Switzerland. It's very, very cute. Now, you might remember that last year, Andrew knitted a little tiger jumper for my sister's daughter, Simba. Simba lives in Australia and she's really enjoying wearing her tiger jumper, so here's a little update of her wearing it. Although when I see her climbing in the trees, I really think we should have used a dark coloured yarn.
Something that can handle the dirt a bit better.
Yeah. But she looks like she's having fun, and at least it's getting worn, so that's great. So since then, Simba has a little sister now called Leia. We haven't met Leia yet. Leia's 1 year old, but apparently they're coming over to Germany later on in the summer, so we might get to meet them. So we are thinking this could be a gift for Simba here. So it's a Toft product. The design and yarn comes in a kit. They've got hundreds and hundreds of animals and birds. They're all incredibly cute. It's fairly easy for an inexperienced crocheter, and that's what I am. It's all done in the UK double crochet stitch. So you start on the body down at the rear end, and you just crocheting around in a spiral. So you do the whole body and the neck, and then you stuff it, and then you complete the head and stuff the head. So the body and the head and the neck are all done in one piece, and the wings, the tail feathers here, and the legs and the beak are done separately, and then sewn on. So I found it relatively easy. The legs were more tricky because you start at the top of the thighs and then you work down in this way, because you're working in a spiral on a fairly small circumference. So that was a little bit fiddly, but actually by the time I've done the second leg and we're going on to do the long sections of the tail, it was becoming easier and easier. So I think it's just a little bit of experience, and then the nose or the beak. So it's just super, super cute. You only stuff the thighs here, so the rest is kind of dangly. You can actually put pipe cleaners in them to make them sort of bend or wire to make it stand up, which would be very cute. It didn't say to stuff the tail, but I've stuffed his tail so it sort of is a little bit more...
Bit perky.
Bit perky.
Yeah.
That the wings aren't stuffed and the actual beak is stuffed. And I love the way it's got this very kind of flamingo beak on it. It's kind of very good for picking little bits. There we go.
Yeah.
So he's so cute. I don't really want to give him away.
No.
He's just super cute. We'll sit him up there on your shoulder. And there is another one. There's this design here, which you may or may not be able to see clearly, but that's Geraldine the duck. And we're thinking this could possibly be Andrew's first crochet project.
Yeah, which is slightly intimidating because I am less experienced as a crocheter than you are.
Yeah.
Having done none whatsoever.
Is that why you're taking so long on this
No,
project?
actually it's not. This is sincerely as quickly as I can go on this project.
So I can highly recommend it. It was a very cute project.
Great result.
Yeah.
Yep. So coming up now is our interview with the founders of the Swiss Yarn Festival, Asita and Merit. You'll really enjoy this. They are both really fun personalities and accomplished crafters themselves. So enjoy it. Thanks for being with us today. We really enjoy having your company and we'll see you in 2 weeks' time.
Bye.
Bye. I was good.
You were great. Were you good?
He was great.
Mon amour, c'est la Suisse. Meine Leidenschaft, das Jodeln. Und ich sage euch warum, pourquoi cet amour.
Welcome to Fruity Knitting. We're here at the Swiss Yarn Festival. The festival's held in Glattfelden, which is around a 30-minute drive north of Zurich. And with me are the two founders of the festival, Merit Beutzberger and Asita Krebs. And it's the second year of the festival. So far it's very successful. There's around 60 vendors and 2 full days of workshops. And we're thrilled to be here, to be invited here to cover the event. And in particular right now to get to know more about the 2 women who are organising it. So thanks for inviting us. We're really happy to be here.
Thank you for coming.
Good.
We are very happy you are here.
Good. Okay, so what led you both to organising a yarn festival together here in Switzerland, and what's on offer at the festival?
Yes, it's a kind of a story. There was another yarn festival a few years ago and they stopped to organize, and people keep asking me if I organize one because I was one of the vendors there.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I tried to, but it was really hard to find a location. And then I asked Merit one time if she has some ideas, and she had. So we started to organize one.
Okay. So prior to that, you hadn't done a lot of event organising, is that right?
Yes, I done non-organising of an event. I jumped right in.
Yeah. Okay, so you're the organiser of events. What was your history in that?
I already organized a few events in my youth time. I organized parties, but then when we grow up, I often did some organizing of Christmas market and trunk shows, stuff like that, together with my sister. Then, CD came, or Asita came and asked me that she has problems to find the location, and
that's how you became the team.
Yeah, and because I still have enough of connection and know stuff, so I said, okay, I help you, and now here I am.
So tell us a bit about the location that you found here. Because it's a special location with a historical background.
Yes, it's an old spinning mill. She was running until 2006, so it was one of the last in the canton of Zurich that closed. And somebody bought the whole area and renovated everything into this center for congress and seminars and stuff like that. And I live here in Gladfelden, so I knew it very well. And I showed it to Asita and, oh yeah, let's bring the wool back to the spinning mill. Yes. And so we thought, yeah, it's just a perfect combination.
Okay, so what's on offer? What does the festival look like?
And the festival offer about 60 vendors this time and about 40 workshops.
Mm-hmm.
And we try to collect different crafts in the workshops, like offshore knitting, spinning, embroidery, and felting and weaving.
Yeah. So it's a good mix.
It's a really good mix, yes.
And how do you divide the organisational roles now between you with the whole package?
This came by nature or naturally. She is very good in the computer stuff, like her website and everything like this, and also with statistics and
You need somebody who's good with numbers,
yeah. And she is very structured, and I'm more the chaotic person,
and the social one, are you?
Yeah, and the social one. So I say I do Facebook and Instagram, and so she is the organized one.
Okay. Yeah. So do you have a clear vision for the Swiss Yarn Festival, or are you just allowing it to develop naturally or organically? For example, how are you picking your vendors? What's your criteria for picking vendors and teachers?
So last year was just trial. We didn't have any criteria.
Yeah.
But this time we had to pick up a little bit more.
Plan a bit more.
So we decided to take a good stock on Swiss handcrafters and local yarn. And then we build on the top some of other countries.
So you need to have a good representation of Swiss fibre artists.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really important in Switzerland to do the locals.
Yeah.
In front.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And what about with the teachers and the workshops?
By the workshops we had a little bit difficult times because we have 4 official languages in Switzerland, so we decided to have workshops with different languages or double languages. So we have English ones, German, Italian and French. And so everyone is happy, I hope.
So in some of those workshops, will the teacher be, she'll say her instructions in French and then in English at the same time, or she'll just use the second language for the members who aren't so good with English?
We have both.
Okay.
We have like Valentina, she say everything in Italian and in German. I think it's really funny to hear. And then we have some German teachers, they jump in English if a participant don't understand.
Yeah. Okay, so you can actually come here and get a language course or practice your second language at the same time as learning your fibre art. Okay, so, and what about the social aspect?
The social aspect is very important for us. We have bigger areas to sit down, to chat, to knit, to meet each other, to eat, just to feel comfy.
Yeah, that's super important, isn't it?
Yes,
so you can rest and then go up and buy some more yarn.
Yeah, right.
Okay, now what about, how many visitors were you expecting?
We're expecting around 2,000 visitors for the whole weekend.
Okay, and what about last year? What did you get last year?
Last year we expected 1,000 and we got 1,800.
Wow!
So it was
so it's really growing, isn't it?
Yeah, and it was amazing for us. This huge success.
Yeah. So as the festival grows, I can imagine more international visitors wanting to come. So what other tourist attractions are in the area in case they wish to extend their stay?
Oh, it's first of all, right here, the place where the venue is a beautiful area.
Yeah.
It's located countryside of Zurich, and it's really a farmer area. And of course, you can just go out of the venue for a walk, and you're quite close to the Rhine.
Yeah.
And Gladfelden, the little village here, is also nice to visit, and another famous little Swiss town is Eglisau. It's to walk maybe an hour, but really nice, really beautiful walk directly on the lake. Not the lake, on the river, sorry.
So just down here?
Yeah.
Just follow the river?
Yeah. And if you have a car or by train, you can go to Schaffhausen, Winterthur, or Zurich. These are the three bigger cities close here, each about 30 minutes. In Schaffhausen, you have the Rheinfall. It's very impressive.
Very beautiful.
It's one of the three biggest of Europe, so I'm very proud to live that close to it, but it's really beautiful there. And Schaffhausen itself is a beautiful old town, and there is
Stein am Rhein also.
Yeah. That's
I've been checking out the area.
You did your homework.
I did.
Good.
And that's really beautiful. It's a really beautiful little old city centre there, and castle on the hill.
Oh yeah, and Schaffhausen is somehow similar. But both are very special for each stuff. But you can walk, you can shop, you can have a coffee outside. The same in Winterthur or in Zurich. Of course, Zurich with the lake is amazing, or to visit some old churches or museums. Or, of course, to end the day, you can walk through the famous Bahnhofstrasse.
You don't need to come to the Yarn Festival.
And wait, the top is coming. Go to Sprüngli. That's a famous confiserie, chocolatier. And they, at the Bahnhofstrasse, they have a coffee. You can go inside, eat cake, coffee, or get some Luxemburgerli.
Okay, you're going to need to book a really big location for next year. You're selling it really well.
Maybe we should ask Sprüngli if they would like to make a booth.
Yeah, good idea. Yes.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so apart from organising the Yarn Festival, both Merit and Asita are very passionate crafters themselves, and I'm sure you'd like to know more about them individually, so I've asked them to bring along some of their work to show you. So Asita, you are a knitwear designer and you're a yarn dyer, but you've also done a spinning diploma, which is really unusual, so that kind of makes you a yarn designer as well. So what kinds of things did you learn in the spinning diploma?
Yeah, I had the spinning diploma in 2.5 years. It was a really great time because I learned a lot. We started with processing right from where the fiber comes, like from the sheep, to collecting the fleece, washing, and make the yarn. Also with other fibers like silk or plant, we make the whole process through.
Okay.
So it was really interesting.
Yeah.
Yes. Then we learned a lot about techniques, like how to control your yarn. So if I like to have a fingering weight yarn, how many steps I have to do on my spinning wheel, on how many inch I draw out.
Okay.
So it's really interesting to get the perfect yarn you like to. Also which ply and how many twists you get in.
Okay, so you actually have all of the skills to engineer a yarn that's exactly what you want. Yes. You don't just spin and go, okay, this is what I've got, now what can I use it for? You can really, from the start.
I could, but sometimes it's really relaxing to go on. Just relax and spin. Yes.
Okay, so what is your favourite yarn to spin? What techniques do you use?
Yeah, the favourite technique is mine is a short draw, and mostly I do it on a spindle. I'm a really true spindle spinner. It's a slow way, but it's a relaxing way, and I like that.
Okay.
Yes. The wheel is only for projects I have to go through.
But how faster is a wheel than a spindle?
It's funny, it's not that much. A real good spindle spinner can be as fast as a spinning wheel.
And that's you?
But no, I like to go slow with the spindle, but fast with the spinning wheel.
Okay.
Yes.
So you do a whole project on a spindle?
Yes, I do. I have one here. It's a little lace shawl. It's made with muka silk, and I spun it on a really basic drop spindle.
Okay, I'll hold it.
Yeah,
Maybe you can...
Thank you very much. So I can show. So this is the fiber. It's a wild silk from India. So that means that the cocoons are already broken when they take the silk on.
Okay, yeah.
I spun it on this drop spin.
Okay, yeah.
Made from a friend of my mom. And here is a little piece of the yarn I used for the shawl.
Okay, so that looks like a lace weight.
It's a lace weight. I mostly spin lace weight, but I love to knit in fingering weight.
Yeah, it's
so
easier.
sometimes I have to make a 3-ply yarn, so I have a fingering instead of a lace.
So tell us about that, the details of that particular, is it a 2-ply, is it worsted spun?
It's a worsted spun.
Mm-hmm.
It's a 2-ply yarn. Because I want to make like a lace scarf, so 2-ply yarn has a flat shape.
Mm.
So 2 threads laid together and next to each other. And when you have a 3-ply, you have a round shape.
Mm.
So the holes will get a little bit
closed in, yeah.
A little bit hidden.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, well this is very beautiful. This isn't one of your designs, is it?
It isn't, no. I mostly don't do designs with my hand spun.
Okay, yeah.
Yes.
It's very, very beautiful. And this is the natural colour, isn't it, of
it
the
is,
tusset silk? Yeah. Okay.
Natural.
So we've got another design here. This is your design, but it's not your yarn, is it?
It's not my hand-spun yarn. I have this yarn dyed in my collection, but that's an undyed one. So I got this yarn. I straight had to do something, so it's undyed. And I picked up this design, the Tibetan face, because I want to show how a round yarn can pop out the cables.
Yeah.
And I really love to knit cables.
Yeah.
It's one of my favorite knittings.
Yeah, it's very beautiful. Yeah. Okay, and you've got your latest design. You're wearing it, aren't you?
Yeah, maybe.
So tell us a little bit about that.
Sure. It's the water swirl cardigan. And I got the yarn from Pasquale. It has some alpaca in it, so it looks a little bit unsteady. And I wanted to show that when you have a little unsteady yarn, that you can use it like in stockinette stitch, and it looks really beautiful.
Okay, so unsteady, you mean it's an uneven yarn, so you're not going to get perfect stitches.
Yeah.
That looks really nice in
really
a straight fabric, yeah. And you've got some cables down the side. We'll show some pictures.
Yes.
Well, it's been great to talk to you and learn a little bit more about your work.
Yeah, thank you very much.
So, Merit, you're known as the Swiss Queen of Double Knitting, which is an amazing title. You're a designer and you're also teaching double knitting during the festival. So tell us a little bit about your work and why perhaps you like double knitting more than the other techniques.
It was more by accident that I ended with double knitting. It wasn't planned anything. I was in need of having color work samples to show my work because I made a little e-booklet with all traditional cross-stitch patterns to transform into knitting because it's nearly the same and you can use them. And for an exhibition I made some samplers and everybody was freaking out, not because of the stitch patterns but of the double knitting. So I brought you my first cowl.
So this is the example. That is such a great idea to transfer old traditional cross-stitch patterns into colour work.
Yeah, I think so too, because there are beautiful patterns, but not many use it really in embroidery, but you can really use it for color work, knitwear, that's no problem. And like this, when everybody on the exhibition saw the griffin, they freaked out and thought, hey Merit, do you give workshops or do you have other patterns? And yeah, so
that's how you got the Swiss Queen of Double Knitting title.
Yes.
Okay. Well, Merit has brought along 3 of her designs, and 2 of them are going to completely blow you away. They are so original. So shall we show them?
Yeah.
Tell us. You hold this one, and I'll hold the other leg, and tell us about these designs.
These are the punk socks, and it was a collaboration with Cocon Bleu, a friend of mine. She wanted to have some really freaking out punk socks for the walk knitting life in New York. And she asked me if I would be fancy to make them. It was very short timed, only about a month. But I said, yeah, let's have a try. And she sent me a mood board with her ideas of blondie and some fish bones. And I put in, of course, some skulls. It has to be some skulls inside.
They're so groovy.
But also I thought, yeah, okay, punk style is also rough and with holes, so also a little lace. They are knitted top down and stranded, but of course you could do it in double knitting as well. Yeah,
they're gorgeous.
And we also decided we make them different. Not they are completely different. Even the length are different. Yeah, just real punk style.
They're fantastic. Now this design is this double knitting?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, so this is a very beautiful coat, which I think is a wedding coat, isn't it?
Yeah, I call it the wedding coat, but I didn't wear it on my wedding because that's a long time ago. It was also more a fancy idea for another friend of mine from Trollewol in the Netherlands. She texted me that she needs an idea to present her new yarn. And I thought, yeah, that's maybe a good idea or a chance to bring out one design idea I carry a long time in my head with me. And it was never planned to write a pattern.
Yeah.
But immediately I showed a few photos on Instagram and immediately the voices came, can I order kits? And then I thought, oh, okay, let's go sit down, write down everything, because it's in this design there are 22 colors and 3 different grays. So I really had to sit down and immediately write down everything.
Yeah.
And
it's completely reversible, isn't it?
Yes, you can choose. I always say how your mood is. So if you are maybe more in a grumpy mood, you take the dark side out. And if you're cheered up after a few coffee, you just turn it around and take the colorful sides.
It's stunning. It's absolutely beautiful. So it's knitted in, is this fingering weight or is it DK?
No, it's fingering weight, and I think I used needle size 3 and 3.5. Yeah.
Okay, so you've done it top down.
Yeah, it's also top down, and I always say if you knitted this, you will never have problems anymore with ribbing, straight knitting, circular knitting, increasing, decreasing in double face knitting.
Yeah.
You have done everything.
Yeah. You really are. You've deserved the title Swiss Queen of Double Knitting with this piece.
Thank you.
It's gorgeous. Just so the viewers can see, that's the back of it.
Yeah.
And It's very beautiful, and it's very elegant how you've done it with this sort of, it's not too busy here, and then you've got some more colour down on the side and up the front, up the top.
Yeah, and I think this pattern or stitch pattern sometimes look like weaved and not like knitted.
Yeah.
And even on the other side, it's I did it very quickly, this design, but just because I choose the colors always
in small sections.
Yes, but I was always so afraid when I was knitting that the colors I choose will not match, and everything will destroy it. And so I keep going. Oh no, it works. Okay. Oh no, now I have to choose another color section. But it was good because it was done in 2 months.
Yeah, so you work well under pressure.
Yes.
Okay, now we've just got one more design to quickly have a look at. So tell us about this beautiful shawl.
I like lace as well, and a friend of mine, she dyed some kid silk, she tested, and when I saw the grey color, I had immediately to steal the skeins, and when I get home and looked at them, I really quickly got the idea for such a lace shawl. It's a heart-shaped shawl where you start on top here and you knit down, and the lace pattern itself is a very easy one. It's just you have it in your mind.
You can memorize it very quickly.
Yes.
Yeah.
And maybe the border needs a bit more of attention, but I think it's really worth the whole work because it makes the shawl pop out.
Yeah. So you can see that Merit's got a lot of interesting designs and so varied. So it's been really great to get a little insight into both your and Asita's work and to get to know you a bit better. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure.
Good.
Yodeling makes me happy, and everybody in the world will understand. Yodeling macht mich glücklich und alle wissen, worum es hier geht. Wittes Highspeed, Schweizer Tempo, den Jodler schicken wir heute um die Welt.